But then, before we get to your county draft, let's get into the intricacies behind bad roads. We cannot talk about it enough. You can imagine in a world where other countries are going technologically higher, Ambazonians are still begging for roads, begging because that's what the situation is at the moment.
That is very true, Onye. And just following the report that you have mentioned there, just of recent, we've had so many accidents that have taken so many innocent lives in Cameroon as a whole, Ambazonia included. We know that these conditions are some things that have been there for a long time. I remember growing up when I was just a kid, and Paul Biya would use some delayed tactics whenever there were elections. He would bring up all those caterpillars and trucks and line them up on the roads and try to indicate to people that the roads were going to be constructed. And once people have the news and spread it throughout the villages that the road construction is going on, a majority would slide over to his side and vote for him. And once the elections are over, all those caterpillars would disappear from the roads like some magic. So this is something that La Republic has been using as a tool to manipulate the population to always, vote for that dictator whenever the election time comes. Actually, as we speak right now, it's baffling that in some places in Ambazonia, La Republic is actually doing construction work in some of the roads. Like the Ncambe Road, for example, there have been some construction that has apparently been going on there to instill some kind of faith in the people that they can still trust in this government. It is totally the reason that we need ABC to be able to expose some of these deceitful lies, because we cannot, as a nation, go through all these for decades and yet still continue to maintain the same policies that keep us in darkness. Those roads should have been at least the the capacity of some other first world countries today. But Europe, yeah, that is not the case. We still have our roads that are muddy whenever it rains. You can't even go through those roads even with your motorbikes. So La Republic just can't have it both ways. So we can see the effects of those bad roads right now, and unfortunately, a lot of people are going to die, and those are sacrifices that Paul Biya is willing to get so he can continue to suck that blood for his octagonal regime. That's probably making him stay alive. He is like some sort of a zombie that actually needs that blood, and unfortunately, those are some of the sacrifices that he has given our people to go through so he can remain in power. That's basically what I can say of those road conditions back in the Cameroon.
Barrister Tim Mbeseha. Barrister Tim Mbeseha, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, I'm glad to have you
I do
back.
hear you.
Yes, it's good to have you back. A minute ago, you were a little frozen on the screen. Looking at the recurrent report of roads, different accidents on daily basis, it's something that keeps happening in Ambazonia. And the best we've seen, because we know the colonial government has not for once started any road project and completed it. And the best we've seen is Ambazonians taking the tools, local tools, and trying to make the roads better to avoid accidents like this. In regards to that, what would you say? Barrister Basia. Sadly, we have you frozen again. Can you hear me now? Okay,
I'm
please go ahead.
so the road accidents. When road accidents, there are a number of things we have to look at. Unfortunately, there if you have a bad road, unpredictable event that will occur. And let us be reminded, we're talking about bad roads and accidents. There are two types of roads. There are what we call the urban roads. In Boya, it's inside it's supposed to be an road. Politicians there, and they're supposed to work on that. We have all refer to government of Yawon. But dealing with what happened, we have to deal with specific. Because we have a number of sacrifices who sit in Boya there and claim to be politicians. Down, and I know the river. Last time they attempted to do road sustainably was 1990s, 30, when there was a mayor. I'm dealing with urban roads. When there was a mayor there called Betty Smith. If you're familiar to Buya, there's one major entrance from I-17 up to the governor's office to Bukwango and Buya town. On one stretch of road, very narrow as it is. Could they make anything to be better than that? Of course, they could. I was referring to Sakofans call administrators and mayors. And this takes me to a man who sits in Boyade and calls himself Mbelamuki, who prior to becoming a senator, he was the mayor of that town for so long. I did nothing. In the 1990s, the only mayor who came up there, remember that the CPDM has been there since the creation of the CPDM. Since 1965, they have been there since 1966. And so in the early 1990s, there was a mayor there called Becky Smith. He's still alive. He attempted to do something to improve, to create a second, so at least there could be 2 lanes on that place. He came to great support. There's a small bridge that they call Musole, because it's just a gutter. He was able to construct a gutter on that, diverted at least some of the traffic that will pass through a village, Great Support Village, down there and come out at the old GCA board. That was what this guy did in 1991, 92, I think. And that's been it. That's 20, 30 years ago. Mbelamoki sat there as the mayor. He did nothing. Joe has deteriorated. If you know Boya, you know that Bukwango is right up there from I-17. You go through all that stretch where the accident occurred to the governor's office, that's Prime Minister's Lodge. Go left, you go to Bukwango. Mr. Mbelamoki, who was the mayor of that town for so long, lives in Bukwango. As you speak, if the road is blocked, there was no way he's going to go to Yaoundé by driving. He was the mayor and transitioned from the mayor to the senator. Nobody prevented him from doing it. But this is the guy who we find ranting that people are sitting on their necks in the southwest. If they could not provide roads in the southwest, that looks like a dangerous thing. But above all, if they cannot even provide roads in their so-called capital, to prevent accidents, because those accidents can happen to anybody. It could be a politician, it could be Mbelamoki himself, it could be you and me. It means there's total neglect. Was this the case in the British Southern Cameroon? Could we have done better? Of course, we could. Shall we do better? We would. And so I just choose actually on the urban roads, which is being used by those politicians themselves, be in Bamenda, in Kambe, in Wum, in Banso, wherever it is. The highway is a different story. It's more pathetic than anyone else. If we cannot fix the road in Bamenda town, for example, how do you expect here on the dig the so-called road? Because their governor lives in town, he drives on that bad road, goes to the same market on those bad roads. All the Regina Mundi, they live in town. And so these are the rare political actors. Frundi, who purported to have won the election, lived in Bamenda town. And so on and so forth. And so as far as the road is concerned, it's a sad story. Which, by that alone should tell us that what we're talking about being in that one country called Cameroon is disaster for death. And one for a federalist to point out one good thing, just one thing, to Ambazonians that they should belong to this so-called Cameroon, one Cameroon, and be a region, be a province, or anything there. Let's say this my own man who was educated, is educated gentleman, is a professor of the university. He could not point at a single thing that would tell us that belonging to that so-called Cameroon in any form or shape was worth doing. If after 60 years plus of this so-called unity, we lost all the road equipment, we lost all the community labor that we did, why should we think that there's something better than going on our own? And again, I saw somewhere, let me just say this in passing, I saw somewhere they said Paul Biya's government had promised to go and build an oil refinery in Caribbean. That's not all, but to include a bitumen factory. A bitumen factory is the byproduct of refined oil. In 1990, as I said, Paul Biya came, I was there. I stood in ground in Bungo Square and promised that he was bringing a bitumen factory in Victoria. That was 1991-92. You have not built one. What is bitumen? They produce tire to fix roads. If they must go and build in Caribbean, we shall die if they won't build anything. Then, what happened to the bitumen factory? Paul Biya promised in the 1990s. I was there. This man, Becky Smith, was the mayor.
Yeah,
it has passed 30 years.
A lot of promises so far to Ambazonians.
So it's a fact, this should be a reminder. The battle should be a reminder for us that we have better days ahead as Ambazonians. And we are heading to death if we continue to remain part of this regime. Over to you.
Well, University, one thing I like about your analysis of any news report is the fact that you go back in history to talk about the present, because indeed, for every problem, there is a root, and the root can be found in the history which you just brought to us. There's been several numbers of infrastructure problems that started in Ambazonia, most of which they started construction but never fulfilled or carried it all the way till the end. And it's a good thing you had to bring all of this history back for us to understand what is happening right now.